Question of the week this week is, so this is how hip and happening we are. We put on TikTok. For those of you who haven't heard of TikTok, it's something that young people use. But TikTok, the question is, why are we called Christians? Why were they called Christians? Because they talked about Christos. They talked about the Christ. You could imagine around the city colonnade someone saying, see that group over there? They're always talking about Jesus. I was in a cafe once, and a guy who was doing youth work, he was sitting with me, and we were talking about his work. We weren't particularly loud, but I'll never forget it. This man got up, he came over to our table, and he banged the table, and in front of the whole cafe, he said, I hate you people. I hate you Christians. You're always talking. He got up and left, and I looked around at the whole cafe, and people, I could see they obviously had sympathy for us, and I thought, well, let's just carry on, But that's what was happening here. These are the Christos. These are the ones who are talking about Christ. It's interesting, isn't it? After a church service, what do? You talk about the football, you talk about the weather, you talk about the food, you talk about what week you've had. Or when you go home, do your kids actually hear you talking about what you've heard because it means something to you? Because that will make a bigger impact on them than what they hear in church, that you actually care about it. So the Christians are called that. They're always talking about Christ. They are the Christ people. It's a nickname. Like in school, when I became a Christian, I joined a Scripture Union group, and we were called the Bible Bashers. And it wasn't a compliment. And being called a Christian then wasn't a compliment. It was slang. It was considered as ridicule. I recall the preacher Michael Ramsey once saying, and this really appealed to me, if you take Christ out of Christian, all that you're left with is Ian, and Ian doesn't save anybody. And I love that. Because lots of people take the term Christian and leave Christ out. Don't leave Christ out of Christian.